Jim Jones. Who is Jim Jones? Like, he's not on anyone's top 10 list. He's like no one's top 10 list, maybe not even his family.
Jim Jones is listed as a federal informant in court documents in the case against Tekashi. In the original court transcripts that were previously released online, the conversation between individual 1, Jim Jones, is listed as cooperating with federal agents in a conversation with Jamal Murder Jones, which would explain why Jim Jones has been able to have such a lengthy criminal record and avoid prison time in the past.
Niggas are scared to hustle because niggas are snitching so much. Maybe that's what's going on. I would be scared to hustle too when I know that every other nigga is snitching just so he don't want to do no time because he's can't bear to be inside the jail system.
Longtime nemesis turned collaborator Fat Joe signed to Rockefeller, and now it looks like another former rival will be relying on Hov's team to steer his career, as Dip says Jim Jones is allegedly heading over to Roc Nation. Capo posted a picture of bottles of Douce and Ace of Spades next to a Roc Nation letterhead on IG and told fans to caption this.
Now you put the lights on.
If I told you I was in the Roc Nation office, how would you feel about that? Huh? You think I was lying? That's clear enough for you?
An old audio just leaked where Jay-Z straight up calls Jim Jones a snitch. Wild, right? But here's the twist. Jay's top exec at Roc Nation is already confirmed as a federal informant. So what's really going on here? Why is this coming out now? And why target Jim specifically? See, Jim Jones recently stirred up a storm when he disrespected Nas, and that drama dragged all his old skeletons right back into the spotlight. Suddenly, people started pulling out receipts claiming Jim cooperated with the feds. Again. But here's where things don't add up. If Jay-Z is so against snitches, how's he cool with his own #1 at Roc Nation being a known informant? Make it make sense. And here's another curveball. Why did Jay-Z give Jim Jones a Roc Nation deal knowing his rep was shady? This whole situation's looking real messy.
As we can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billionaire's lunch. Yeah. You understand?
Right.
And we here together.
I think we passed kneeling.
Let me play it again. This time, look at the reaction of the lady sat just behind him. The reason why she's worried about how Jay would respond is because she's the CEO of Roc Nation. But in her former life, she was a federal informant.
Let's rewind to the audio leak that lit this fire. In this resurfaced clip, Jay talks about his issues with Jim and doesn't hold back. He straight up says Jim's a fake rapper, claiming Jim's not even a real peer in the game. Jay basically hints that Jim's whole role in the industry ain't about the music, it's about something else. So now you gotta ask, did Jay-Z already know what Jim was really about before the streets figured it out?
Well, that Jim Jones, man. Hip-hop, of course, you know, is a competitive sport. But on the other end of it, it's like certain people shouldn't be able to say your names until they done something in the genre of music. I've done too much in this music to even have to answer that question. Like, Jim Jones, who is Jim Jones? Like, he's not on anyone's top 10 list. He's like no one's top 10 list, maybe not even his family. I was saying last night, it's like the 8th guy on the bench just screaming at Jordan, like, you a bum. Like, you like the 9th guy on the bench. I'm not even worried about you.
If Jay was throwing shade, calling him a fake, and possibly hinting at him being an informant, why later bring him into Roc Nation? That move right there has got people scratching their heads. Now, about these snitch rumors, they've been floating in the air for a long time, but trust 50 Cent to stir the pot when it's quiet. 50 jumped right back into the convo with an Instagram post showing Jim chilling with Jay-Z, Diddy, Fat Joe, and a few others. His caption, straight heat. He wrote, LOL, individual one calling the shots out here. I know you working, so please don't say gangster-ish to me, individual one. And if you're wondering what that's about, it goes straight back to those old rumors that Jim was working with the feds during the whole Tekashi 6ix9ine racketeering case. This story's deeper than anyone thought. So here's where it gets even crazier. While Tekashi 6ix9ine was on the witness stand snitching on his whole 9 Trey Blood crew, a wiretap dropped that caught Jim Jones talking slick on the phone. On that call, Jim straight up said Tekashi wasn't a gang member anymore and needed to get violated. And guess what? 50 Cent didn't waste a second. He posted the full transcript for the whole world to see. Let's rewind real quick. Back in 2018, Tekashi got slammed with federal racketeering and gun charges, along along with a crew of 9 Trey Bloods, one of the most notorious and violent sets linked to the Bloods. The feds had been watching 9 Trey for a long time, building up a heavy case. So when they finally arrested Tekashi, it wasn't long before he flipped and started cutting deals to save himself.
Brooklyn rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine pleaded guilty to federal charges, admitting he participated in a violent gang. He also pledged to cooperate with prosecutors. The rapper, whose legal name is Daniel Hernandez, said he joined the 9 Trey Blood gang in the fall of 2017. He says he helped them try to kill a rival gang member last March. Prosecutors say the gang carried out acts of murder, robbery, and narcotics trafficking in Manhattan, the Bronx, and Brooklyn. The indictment also said each gang member was required to participate in at least 2 acts of racketeering conspiracy, which could include murder, robbery, extortion, or drug distribution. The plea deal could allow Hernandez leniency at sentencing. He was facing a mandatory 47-year prison sentence.
Then in September 2019, the courtroom turned into a whole movie. Tekashi took the stand and started naming names left and right. He called out people like Anthony Harv Ellison, Al Jeremiah Nuke Mack, and a bunch more. He didn't hold back, laying out the 9 Trey gang's playbook step by step, exposing all their dirt for the world to hear. So how does Jim Jones fit in? His name came up in a wiretapped call played right in court. In one of those calls, Jim was allegedly heard talking to Jamel Mel Murda Jones, another top shot caller from 9 Trey. In that convo, they were supposedly plotting what to do about Tekashi after he started running his mouth and publicly cutting ties with the gang. And let's be real, it sure sounded like Jim was hinting at some serious payback.
He definitely humiliating Shotty right now.
Well, like, put it up there next to the post. Like, when you go to YouTube and World Star, you got his picture next to this. Everything he say, you got a split screen with Shotty picture next to this. I said, this is crazy, son. He's doing that to make K-9 think he don't got no relationship with Boy. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to live. He's trying to separate himself.
That's cool, but now you gotta get violated.
Yeah, super violated. Super duper. So ain't too much he can really do unless he gonna run around with 100 armed securities all day. You know what I'm saying? He gonna get shot at penny.
He ain't getting enough money for that.
That's a fact. And he just canceled all his shows.
He ain't a gang member no more.
Nah, he ain't nothing.
That's what Shotty needs to make sure.
Nah,
he's not a gang member no more. He kicked out the whip. He was never a gang member. Shotty need to expose him.
That wiretap shook the whole game up, not just because it linked Jim Jones to 9 Trey's top dogs, but because it made people ask one major question. How did Jim end up caught on a federal wire talking gang business and still walk away clean? No charges, no indictment, nothing. People were like, what's really going on here? After the trial wrapped up, the streets couldn't stop buzzing. Folks were asking, how does Jim get caught saying someone needs to get violated, and somehow he's the only 9 Trey affiliate who doesn't end up in handcuffs? Naturally, this kicked off major talk that Jim might have been working with the feds, or at least cutting some quiet deals behind the scenes to save himself. And nobody ran with that theory harder than Wack 100. Wack didn't hold back. He straight up called Jim a federal informant. He said the only reason Jim wasn't sitting in a cell was because he was working with law enforcement. And Wack wasn't just talking slick online. He doubled down on Clubhouse in interviews, and even when chopping it up with Tekashi himself, he basically dared Jim to clear his name and drop receipts proving he wasn't cooperating. But no receipts ever showed up.
Jim Jones, right? He ran with the same I ran with a decade before I met him. Jim Jones, the Dipset, the that was just over there dancing on verses. Jim Jones was running with Shotty, Cafano Jordan, right? Mel Matrix, Jamel Jones, Roll Murder, Roland Martin. He was running Fu Banger, Fuquan. I forgot his last name, Fuquan something. He was running with all of the cats I ran with and got indicted for. You know what Jim Jones did? That nigga did not take care of none of them. Cause when I ran to them, Shotty was sleeping on the rug on Madison between Tompkins and Troop. Mel Murder was on Gates and Marcus Garvey with his baby mother. Roland Martin was just doing 9 years. He blew trial. That make them. That take care of them. From Shotty was sleeping on the rug. That driving a 6'3" Benz in 6 months, living in a condo, doing meetings with Kanye.
And it wasn't just Wack stirring things up. Former Dipset member Jaja jumped into the drama too. She added more heat to the story, claiming she had her own receipts that Jim actually set up his own boy, Mel Murda. That's cold if it's true.
Jimmy, Detective Jones, people at Splash Brand do not f with no informants. I did 4 years in the feds, homie, because I ain't snitch. You set your best friend up on a wiretap. See, Whack 100 and Tekashi, they don't got receipts like that because they really don't know.
Now that we've unpacked how all this Jim Jones is a snitch talk got started, let's swing it back to Jay-Z. Because if Jay really lined up Jim for a public takedown, you gotta understand their beef goes way back, deeper than music. Jay and Jim been locked in a feud for over a decade, all the way back to the early 2000s. This isn't some new school drama, but this is long-standing tension boiling over in front of the whole world. It all kicked off way back in 2002 when Dame Dash brought Cameron and Jim Jones into Rockefeller Records. That's when the tension first started bubbling. Jim claimed Cam was promised a vice president spot at the label, but Jay-Z never backed that up publicly. Jay told The Source at the time, "That's not taking effect as of yet. I think the talk is a little premature right now." Boom. First red flag. And keep in mind, all this was going down right when Jay was locked in his beef with Nas. So what did Jay do? He jumped on the remix of Cam and Joel Santana's hit track, Oh Boy, throwing shots at Nas on their song. But Cam and Jim weren't having it. They shut that down fast. Cam straight up cut Jay's verse off the remix and later said he wasn't about to let Jay use their record to fight his battle. That move spoke volumes.
I did a little something for you in the studio. Then he had something to Oh Boy.
This is Oh Boy's already #1?
Yeah, it's popping.
All right.
Yeah, I listened to it and I was like, erase that shit.
And that moment set the tone for everything that followed. Cam and Jim felt like Jay didn't respect them. Not as artists, not as businessmen, and definitely not as street dudes. That's when the sneak disses really started flying. Jim began taking shots at Jay in interviews and on the radio, calling him corporate, out of touch with the streets, and soft. Jim kept pushing the image that he was the one staying real, keeping his integrity intact, while others switched up.
First of all, let's get right to it. There seems to be some drama. You and The Rock, Jay-Z, you try to diss. You did diss him.
I just nobody.
You dissed him.
I dissed Michael Jordan. Oh man, we just there's no drama, man.
No, we're gonna get to that.
Shouts to Dame Dash, who started Rockefeller Records. If y'all don't know, he's responsible for Rockefeller getting off the floor that started in Harlem.
And Jim didn't stop there. He made it a point to diss rappers who turned into snitches. He was throwing shade all over the place.
They hustling like they need to, you dig? And they ain't keeping it funky like they used to. So I don't understand. Maybe scared to hustle because snitching so much. Maybe that's what's going on. I would be scared to hustle too when I know that every other snitching just so he don't want to do no time because he's can't bear to be inside the jail system. Now the to say not nothing to brag about. When I was coming up, kind of happy to go to jail to say they did something tough, even though I never been behind the walls myself. But my I be around, there used to be a bragging point like I just came home at. That was when we was young. Nowadays, you punks are scared to go in and do the damn thing.
At first, Jay played it cool and didn't fire back directly, but everybody watching Rockefeller could feel the tension was heating up. Then, in 2006, Jim dropped We Fly High, an anthem that blew up like crazy. That's when Jay finally clapped back with his own response track, Brooklyn High.
Brooklyn get tape up, don't big things. We chase around, they all ball game. It's over for you lames. Give me back your chain, it's over for you dames.
And just like that, the beef hit a whole new level. But it didn't stop there. Jim wasn't done talking spicy. He clapped back with the We Fly High beef mix, where he went straight at Jay-Z's age, clowning him as an old head. One of his coldest lines was, I told Warning, you're older, better chill, that better slow down before your older gets killed. Jim was going all the way in. No filters, no holding back. Fast forward to 2008 and things jumped from music to real life. That's when security footage surfaced, showing Jim putting hands on someone inside a Louis Vuitton store. And that someone turned out to be Jay-Z's longtime A&R, Lenny Santiago. Talk about bold moves. Jim got arrested for the altercation and later pled guilty to misdemeanor assault. The streets were buzzing about it.
Jim Jones, the rapper, is going down. Jim Jones. Jim Jones.
Jay didn't speak on it directly at the time, but a few months later, in an extra large interview, he threw some serious shade. Jay called out songs like Nah, 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 Nah as the kind of stuff dragging hip-hop down. He said, and I quote, "I mean, like Jim Jones, for example, and I don't mean this because we never see eye to eye. He made Nah, 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 Nah. What's the difference between Smiley Face by Trey Songz and Soulja Boy and Nah, 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 Nah?" Jay basically said Jim's music was bubblegum pop. That was a major blow to Jim's credibility. After that, things went quiet for a bit, but not for long. In 2015, Dipset lit the match again with a freestyle over Diddy's Victory Beat. Cam and Jim took fresh shots at Jay and Rock Nation, clowning the Rock Nation brunch and making fun of Jay for being too soft and corporate. They were basically saying Jay lost his edge and was more about business suits than street roots. But then things took a wild turn no one saw coming. Out of nowhere, Jim switched it up and started asking Jay to sign him. After all that beef, after all those diss tracks, Jim was suddenly chasing that Rock Nation deal. Fast forward to February 2017, after 13 years of tension, Jim officially signed with Rock Nation and joined Jay's camp. Just like that, the beef was over, at least on the surface.
Now it looks like another former rival will be relying on Ho's team to steer his career, as Dip says Jim Jones is allegedly heading over to Rock Nation. Capo posted a picture of bottles of Douce and Ace of Spades next to a Rock Nation letterhead on IG and told fans to capture.
If I told you I was in the Rock Nation office, how would you feel about that? Huh? You think I was lying? That's clear enough for you?
And Jim wasn't exactly keeping it humble either. He started bragging loud and proud about getting invited to Jay's Rock Nation brunch, the same event he used to clown just a few years earlier. Now he was out here praising Jay in public, doing everything he could to show loyalty and make it look like the beef was dead and gone.
If anybody getting answer checks, it should be us. Cocaine, get in there. It's you.
But Jay, he played it ice cold, barely said a word about Jim's Rock Nation deal. You could tell Jay was keeping it all business. He didn't want people thinking they were best friends now. Jay stayed distant, making sure no one confused a deal with a friendship. But here's where it gets real interesting. Like some people say, Jay signing Jim wasn't about peace at all. It was a power play. Jay's been known to absorb his rivals and turn them into business moves. Just look at the LRX, Fat Joe, J. Cole, Meek Mill. All of them had friction with Jay at one point, and they all ended up doing business with Rock Nation. Classic chess move. And when it comes to Jim Jones, after Jay brought him to Rock Nation, Jay still kept his distance. No hanging out, no public praise, just silence. So now you gotta wonder, was Jay keeping Jim at arm's length because of those Tekashi wiretaps and all those snitching rumors swirling around Jim? But here's where the plot thickens. Jay's whole image of being against snitches might be nothing but a front, because let's not forget, Jay's right-hand woman, the president of Rock Nation, Desiree Perez, is a documented informant. That's right. Paperwork confirmed.
Alright. Remember when Jay-Z said this?
I think we passed kneeling.
Let me play it again. This time, look at the reaction of the lady sat just behind him. The reason why she's worried about how Jay would respond is because she's the CEO of Rock Nation. But in her former life, she was a federal informant. In 1994, Desiree Perez was arrested for bringing in 35 keys of Griselda Blanco into Miami. Under pressure, she agreed to wear a wire for the DEA. Quick side note, Desiree Perez is the name Dame Dash refused to say in this Breakfast Club interview.
Once a has certain friends, we don't even talk about them no more where I'm from.
Now, around that same time, Jay-Z and Perez spearheaded Rock Nation's prison reform initiative with Meek Mill. I guess their hard work paid off, because on the 19th of January 2021, this list was released. Desiree Perez's criminal past had just been wiped clean by the outgoing president, Donald Trump.
So if Jay has no problem doing business with someone like that, why would he cut Jim off over some snitching rumors? That's when people started whispering, Something about this whole situation just doesn't add up. Word on the street is that Jay-Z's move to sign Jim Jones wasn't about forgiveness. It was about control. People say Jay wanted Jim close so he could keep an eye on him and maybe even pull his strings behind the scenes. Wild, right? Some insiders claim Jay didn't trust Jim running loose in the industry, especially with those federal rumors floating around. So what better way to keep tabs than bringing him inside Roc Nation's circle? But even after signing Jim, Jay still treated him like an outsider. No collabs, no public shoutouts, no Roc Nation family love, just a cold business handshake and that's it. It's almost like Jay was saying, you work for me now, but don't get it twisted, we ain't friends.
Jones, who is Jim Jones? Like, he's not on anyone's top 10 list. He's like no one's top 10 list, maybe not even his family.
And let's be honest, Jay has done this play before. Every time he signs someone who used to be his rival, he somehow comes out on top. He silences their voices, controls their moves, and keeps his empire protected. Some fans even joke that Roc Nation's not just a label, it's where Jay keeps his enemies close. But here's the craziest part. While people were busy looking at Jim, nobody really talked about Desiree Perez's past. She didn't just cooperate once, she's a confirmed informant who helped the feds in drug cases back in the day. Yet Jay put her in one of the most powerful seats at Roc Nation. So if he's okay with that, why act shady with Jim Jones over some rumors?
The head of Roc Nation, Desiree Perez.
Good evening, everyone.
I say shout out to Desi. Shout out to Desi. She got me out the contract.
Roc Nation.
Okay. Yeah, shout out to Desiree.
Okay.
You know about this?
Nah.
Desiree Perez became a cooperating witness for the DEA in the 1990s. She got arrested in 1994 for possession of 35 kilos of cocaine.
Desiree Perez and the whole wicked system of Roc Nation, including you, Jay-Z.
Yes. Yes.
You who say you rose from the gutter.
This is where folks started connecting the dots. Maybe Jay never cared about the whole no snitch code like people thought. Maybe for him, it's just about who brings value to the table. If you help the business win, your pass gets a pass. But still, something about the way Jay handled Jim just feels like unfinished business. Almost like Jay's waiting for the perfect time to make his next move. And just when people thought the drama was cooling off, the streets started buzzing again. Whispers began flying that maybe Jay-Z didn't just bring Jim Jones in to watch him. Some say Jay wanted to use Jim as a distraction. While everybody was focused on Jim's snitch rumors, nobody was asking real questions about Roc Nation's own skeletons. Smart move, right? But here's the thing, Jim didn't exactly help himself. After signing to Roc Nation, he was moving kind of funny. He went from dissing Jay for being corporate to rocking Roc Nation chains and calling Jay a genius. People were like, hold up, is this the same Jim Jones who said Jay was out of touch with the streets? The switch up was crazy. And while Jim was playing nice, Jay-Z was still silent, watching everything from the sidelines. No verses, no public love, no real cosigns, just business. Jay kept his cool like a chess master setting up his next checkmate. Some say Jay was waiting to see if Jim would trip up again, or maybe leak something that could finally take him out the game for good. But even beyond that, let's not forget, Jay's got a long history of moving his enemies off the board without ever getting his own hands dirty. Whether it's with former Rockefeller partners, old rivals, or industry snakes, Jay knows how to play the long game, and signing Jim might have just been another power move to keep his empire untouchable. At the end of the day, the big question remains, was this deal about second chances or silent revenge? Did Jay really forgive Jim, or was he just making sure the streets wouldn't hear Jim's voice unless it was under Roc Nation's control? One thing's for sure, when it comes to Jay-Z, nothing is ever simple. Every deal, every move, there's always something bigger happening behind the scenes. But what if Jay-Z was playing both sides the whole time? Maybe this was never about loyalty. Maybe it was always about control and power. Think about it. Jay didn't need Jim. But Jim? Oh, he definitely needed Jay. And when Jim's name popped up on those wiretaps, Jay did exactly what he always does. He protected the brand first. Cold, calculated, and focused on keeping Roc Nation squeaky clean on the surface. So maybe Jay wasn't mad that Jim might have snitched. Maybe Jay was mad that Jim wasn't his snitch. That right there changes everything. And it makes you wonder, what kind of company is Roc Nation really running? With all these rumors, deals, and informants behind the scenes, is this just business? Or is it something way deeper? One thing's for sure, The industry plays dirty, and the power players know exactly how to move in silence while the world watches the drama on the surface. But what do you think? Is Jay-Z a mastermind keeping his enemies close, or just another businessman making ruthless moves to stay on top? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next crazy story unfolding in the celebrity world. And don't go anywhere. Click the next video you see on the screen for more wild celebrity drama that'll have you questioning everything. See you in the next one.